Divorce me. As soon as James came home from work, he dropped this bombshell on me. Hold on a minute. Did I do something wrong? Why are you talking about divorce? I'm just sick of life with you, James said, clearly annoyed. You look after the kids since they seem to be attached to you. What is he talking about? Confused and stunned, I was at a loss for words. I'm Patricia, 32 years old. I live with James, who is 6 years older than me, and our 4 children. Both of us have been married before. I met James while I was a single mom living with my daughter. James had 3 kids from his first marriage, and after the divorce, he took custody of all of them. Drawn to his devotion for his kids, I decided to remarry. I had a 10-year-old daughter and suddenly became a mom of an 11-year-old boy, a 7-year-old boy, and a 5-year-old girl. I thought that together we could build a happy family, but the happy times didn't last. A few months into our remarriage, I noticed James acting differently. He used to come home right after work, but gradually he started coming home later. When I asked him why, all he said was, I have to finish up some work, so I'll be late coming home for a while. Don't bother with dinner. It started with him coming home just 2 or 3 hours late. But soon, he was coming home past midnight or even the next morning. His kids, my stepchildren, started to worry about their dad's late nights. I tried to stay cheerful for the sake of the kids, but with James not home, I had to take care of the household chores, childcare, and even my job, leading to exhausting days. Are you okay? Can I help you with anything? Thank you. Could you go grocery shopping? My eldest stepson, Mark, is very responsible and always helps out around the house, even though we're not related by blood. Daniel and Michelle, my younger stepchildren, seemed lonely without their dad. My biological daughter, Lisa, treats her step-siblings like her real brothers and sisters. With the help of Mark and Lisa, I was somehow managing to maintain our current lifestyle. But I was getting more and more frustrated with James, who seemed to be neglecting our adorable children. James kept coming home late, without a second thought for the kids. Hey, is work really that busy? Yeah, pretty much. Can't you come home a little earlier? The kids are missing their dad. Unhappy with my suggestion, James suddenly slammed his desk in anger. I'm working these late hours for the sake of our family. You can take care of the kids on your own. That's how you say it? I just want you to spend more time at home and face the children. I was at a loss for words at James' sudden transformation, something I'd never seen before. But that only seemed to irritate him further. Can't you even handle the kids properly? I was too scared to say anything more as James shouted and kicked a chair across the room. From that day on, James was hardly ever home. He wouldn't answer his phone, leaving me anxious as I took care of the kids day in and day out. I had to work around the clock since he wouldn't give us any money for living expenses. The kids sensed the tension and began helping out around the house to alleviate some of my burden. One day, the whole family was working together to manage their daily lives. Then, one day, James came back abruptly. In his hand was a divorce paper. He said coldly, Let's get a divorce. I don't want to be with an old woman like you anymore. Wait, what? What did I do to deserve this? I'm just fed up with this life with you. I wish you'd reconsider for the sake of the kids. This is a second marriage for both of us, and another divorce would hurt everyone involved. The kids had finally started to adjust to our life and even started to smile more. I didn't want to cause them any more pain. You're always concerned about the kids, aren't you? What? That's what I'm tired of. To begin with, I don't even care about the kids. I only married you because I thought You take care of them. What a cruel thing to say to your own child. I was speechless at James' cruel words. The kids seem to like you, so you look after all 4 of them. What are you talking about? 3 of them are your children. Think about how they feel. Shut up. Their mother abandoned them. That's why I took them in. I just want to be free. You can take care of them in my stead. Do you even realize what you're saying? I was shaking with anger at James' selfishness. So you never came home because you've been feeling this way? James smirked, as if mocking me. You actually thought I was busy with work? What do you mean? I didn't come home because I didn't want to be with you. Hanging out with friends is way more fun. So you lied about work? Yep, that's the gist of it. Having drinks at a pub, then hitting the club. There was this really cute girl there. James sat down on the sofa, crossing his legs, showing no remorse. You neglected your family to go there? He didn't even give us living expenses, yet he was out clubbing? Anger and sorrow filled me. But James had another shocking revelation. This marriage was a real mistake. Well, I'm out of money and you're of no use to me anymore. You spent money on... Clubs aren't cheap, you know. I didn't want to pay for all of it, so I took it out of your account. James said this and nonchalantly tossed a banking card onto the table. I had a bad feeling, so I hurriedly checked the card. It was from the account I had diligently saved in for Lisa's future after divorcing my previous husband. Almost all the money was gone. James should have known how important this money was, and yet he used this money without asking. Ran out of money taking that girl out for dinners and gifts. You've never even bought your own kids' birthday presents, but you've been showering her with gifts? Talking to this man was just pointless. I felt so defeated that I didn't care anymore. Fine, let's get a divorce. James grinned, as if he had been waiting for me to say that. I had always thought it was better for the kids to have both parents, but not when one is as selfish and awful as him. With that resolve, I filled out the divorce papers. Submit that to town hall by tomorrow. Me? I'm busy preparing for my next marriage. Your what? The girl I told you about? Seems she's into me. She's young and cute. I plan to leave you and marry her. Women, it's all about looks and youth, right? I felt a wave of disgust looking at James' mocking smile. What is that? Is this all because we're in the way of your new relationship? Yep, pretty much. I'll be moving out. You're on your own now. James left the house without even looking back at me. A whirlwind of anger, sadness, and regret left me collapsed on the floor. How did I end up marrying someone like this? I knew regret wouldn't change anything, but I couldn't help feeling it. How much time had passed? I was sitting in the living room lost in thought. Mom, you okay? Anything wrong? The voice of concern came from my eldest son, Mark. Don't worry, I'm fine. I acted normal, not wanting to worry Mark. The next day, I filed for divorce. It was hard to explain to the kids, but I simply told them we're going to live separately from Dad. Danielle and Michelle were visibly shaken without their dad around, but they adjusted eventually. Mark and Lisa took even greater care of their younger siblings. As expected, James didn't pay child support. In desperation, I contacted his workplace only to find out he had recently quit. James remained missing. I worked tirelessly to support my 4 children. Thanks to their support, even the hardest days were bearable. A decade passed like this, and my children grew up well. One unexpected day, long after I had nearly forgotten James, something happened. I had planned to go to dinner with the kids after work. As I was leaving work, "It's been a long time, Patricia," I was stopped by a familiar voice. Turning around, there was James in worn-out clothes. What are you doing here? I waited to see you. Are you off work? Can we talk? After all he had done to us, what was he thinking? Sorry, I have plans. What's up? Can we live together like before, all 6 of us? James, who had abandoned his family 10 years ago, was now making this selfish request. By then, I could only feel contempt for him. What are you talking about? How can you say that after hurting your own children? Living together again is out of the question.
Wait, listen to me. Hey, what are you doing to Mom?
Mark, what are you doing here? Weren't you waiting at home?
I got worried when you didn't come back at the agreed time. We were close by, so we decided to check on you, Mom.
Mark pulled me away from James. In the distance, I saw Lisa, Daniel, and Michelle looking concerned.
Mark, you're Mark, right?
James ran up to Mark.
Daniel, Michelle, Lisa, it's been a while. Do you remember Dad? Dad? Wow, you've all grown so much. How have you been?
The kids glared at James as he casually tried to strike up conversation.
Mark, can you help me persuade Mom too? I've been telling her we should all live together again, but she won't listen. You really mean that? We should all live together again? Of course. Wouldn't it be better if Dad was around?
James reached out to touch Mark's shoulder, but Mark pushed his hand away.
Are you kidding me? Do you have any idea how hard Mom has struggled all these years? You show up out of nowhere, saying we should live together, that it's better if you're around. I've never once thought of you as my dad.
It was surprising to see Mark, who is usually so kind, this angry. Even James seemed stunned for a moment, his face slowly turning red with anger.
Who do you think you're talking to like that? Have you forgotten? I raised you when you were young. What? Raising us? You always thought we were a burden, even back then.
That day, you mean?
The day you left us. Lisa and I heard every word of your conversation back then.
My heart pounded at the memory. How shocking that must have been for the kids. It pained me to think about their feelings.
Don't act like a dad now after you abandoned us. What did you say? I'm your real dad. You're taking her side over your own flesh and blood.
Fueled by anger, James lunged at Mark. Stop it, both of you.
Shut up. He's the one disrespecting his dad.
Seeing James still trying to confront Mark, I decided to tell the kids the truth. By the way, how's Betty? Weren't you planning to remarry? James froze. At the mention of Betty, a girl from a club he frequented.
Who's Betty? What do you mean, remarry?
The kids asked curiously. Betty is the name of the woman Dad fell for. He left Mom to remarry Betty, who worked at the club.
No way, you're lying!
When I started talking, James' face tightened.
Why would you mention that name?
After you disappeared, I checked with your workplace. A coworker who was close to you told me everything. Every revelation was shocking. James, who rarely went to clubs, fell for Betty, who was just doing her job. Thinking Betty also liked him, James divorced me, only to be quickly rejected by her. Mark and Lisa were speechless, knowing James left me to marry a club girl. Daniel and Michelle looked at James with contempt.
Falling for a club girl? Seriously? How delusional can you be? Leaving Mom for something like that is the lowest of low.
That's ancient history. It doesn't matter now. Plus, there's no way I'd fall for a club girl, right?
James denies the truth when the kids find out why we divorced. But what I really wanted to say was more than just that. Were you not serious? You stalked Betty, didn't you? At these words, James's face, red with anger just moments ago, turned increasingly pale.
What do you mean by stalked?
James couldn't let go of Betty even after she broke it off. He was so persistent that she had to call the police. He lost his job over it, too.
Why would you go that far? Bold of you to show your face to us after all that happened.
Our kids looked at James with disdain, as if he was something filthy.
I genuinely feel guilty for what I've done to you. After losing my job, I was barely making ends meet, and now I can't work due to health issues. That's why I want to come back and start fresh with you as a family.
So he only showed up now because he can't work. I felt dizzy at James, who was just as selfish as he was before we divorced.
I swear I won't hurt you again. Please reconsider.
No way, are you kidding?
Michelle was the first to speak up.
Exactly, it's too late to try and make amends now.
You brought all of this upon yourself.
Our kids unleashed their pent-up frustrations and anger.
Mom may not be our biological mother, but we love her and want her to be happy going forward. If you make her suffer anymore, we won't forgive you.
Holding back tears, I told James, stay away from us. You don't want the police involved again, do you?
Wait, I still...
We turned our backs on James and began to walk away. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw James slumping down, but none of us cared as we headed home. Since then, I heard James can't work anymore and lives a miserable life. It seems like his reckless past has finally caught up to him, leaving him utterly alone. As for me, I was already seeing a male colleague from my workplace. We got married a few months later. The relationship between him and my kids is great. Most importantly, I'm now living a very happy life supported by a caring husband who always puts me and the kids first.